All right, buckle up. You just got into an argument with somebody at work.
I'm in a brainstorm session.
Did I stutter?
You're right, they're wrong, they just don't see it yet. The question is, what's the best way to win? Well, you could sit around debating all the finer points of the argument and try and talk your way to a victory.
Really interested? Should I play like I'm interested, but I'm not that interested? But I think she might be interested, but do I want to be interested, but now she's not interested?
Sometimes that works. But think about all of the arguments you've been in before. Even when you do win, do you actually win? Often, we strain the relationship with somebody because we're just not great at arguing. We start to mix in personal attacks with some of the professional facts and figures.
Even if you weren't in my food chain, I would go out of my way to attack you.
And then the next thing you know, you may have won, but you actually lost. And in the process, we often forget about what we were actually trying to accomplish. So what's the real goal here? To be right or to get to the best possible result? So instead of arguing, let's try the Michelangelo Method.
Major opponents coming up.
The famed sculptor Michelangelo gives us a slightly different approach to handling disagreements with professional colleagues. In 1502, there was this beautiful piece of marble that was just hanging around in one of the old churches. A previous sculptor had messed up the marble by boring a hole right in the middle of it, making it completely useless. Until some friends of Michelangelo's presented his name to the mayor of Florence as the sculptor to be able to do something with the marble. Now, Florence's mayor was Piero Soderini, super powerful guy. And he invited Michelangelo to come look at the marble to see if he could do anything with it. Michelangelo looked at the marble and said,
"Don't worry, I got this."
Now, as he came to the end of the project, the mayor, Soderini, decided to pay a visit to Michelangelo. And so he comes into the studio and he sees Michelangelo working on the David, and he says, "Oh, you know what? It actually looks like you messed up the nose. It's like disproportionate to the rest of the sculpture." Okay, pause for a moment. Michelangelo is being told by this guy, who feels like he knows art, that the nose is disproportionate to the rest of the body. What do you think Michelangelo did? He could have sat there and argued about proportions and the golden ratio and all of the different things, and that would have gotten him nowhere. Because Piero Soderini was the most powerful man in Florence. And so even if Michelangelo was right, he would have been wrong. So instead, Michelangelo took a different approach. So Michelangelo acknowledges Soderini's observation and says, "Hey, thank you for that. Why don't you come join me up here on the scaffolding?"
Wow, would you look at the view from up here?
And invites him to come see the sculpture from a different perspective. Now, this is the best part, because as Soderini comes up, Michelangelo bends down, he picks up his chisel and picks up some marble dust off the ground. And he says to Soderini, hold on one second. Lifts up, starts to chisel lightly, and begins to let the marble dust fall to the ground. Now, after a few minutes of this little farce, he turns to Soderini and says, "What do you think now?" And then Soderini says, "I like it better. You've really made it come alive." So who won this argument? Everyone.
I just wanted to say that you're all winners.
Michelangelo was the professional who knew exactly what the sculpture needed and didn't need. Now, Soderini, who fancied himself a bit of an art connoisseur, also got what he wanted, which was to feel like he contributed in a meaningful way to the final product. I love this quote from Balthasar Gracian. He says, "The truth is generally seen, rarely heard." Argument is rarely the way to victory. So the next time you jump into a disagreement, pause and ask yourself, should I argue or should I act?